Congresswoman Hooley?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank our panel. You have been terrific. And anyone that wants to jump in and answer this question is, I'm originally from North Dakota. I'm very familiar with Minot. So I have a problem with understanding why anyone would go to Minot, but I'm sorry, that's not a good thing. I love you, North Dakota. But what if wherever they come from, somebody is in Minot shutting off the missiles? Why? I mean, is that to show us that they can do that? Is that, why would you do that?
Can I try that? First of all, the world is facing a crisis right now about nuclear weapons. I don't have to remind you about
Right.
Those possibilities in countries that are trying to acquire nuclear weapons. We have enough, and we've had enough nuclear weapons to destroy every living thing on Earth for a long, long time.
Right.
And it would not take much to start a nuclear war, in my opinion. And that risk is getting worse. So I do believe that, and I think they are extraterrestrial, and this is just my opinion, that they are here to at least point to the fact that we are on the verge of annihilation, of suicide, if you will, our own civilization. And they would like to see us get rid of these weapons. And that's the message I got from my incident. That's my own conclusion.
Okay.
That this was strictly a message. Get rid of your weapons. Get rid of those nuclear weapons. They are not weapons of war, by the way. They're weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
They would never be used in a real war because it would just be a complete suicide for civilization, like I said.
Anyone else want to jump in? Yes. Sergeant Scott?
Yeah, in June of 2001, President Bush came on scene on ABC News, and it was carried throughout the networks and in Popular Mechanics magazine. He had with him a general from the Air Force, and he was announcing that the general was going to be the head of a new military force called the Space Force. And they were going to build this force and also put a military base on the moon. Now, nobody questioned him on why, what was the purpose for that. But then September 11th comes around, the terrorist attack comes, this general is posted as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the Space Force never comes about. The question I have still, why did he want to create a new military force for outer space unless there's a threat?
We have one. We have a space. We have a space force. It's in existence, and it's been written about extensively. It's there.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
Some acknowledge it and some don't. But that's your point's well taken, Sergeant.
Black Ops?
Black Ops is real.
Well,
Yeah, I know.
you want me to answer that?
No?
No, I won't.
No. No.
Well,
Let me go
I'm
with
not through with my
Oh, I'm sorry.
He jumped in.
Right, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. Continue. It's your time, Congresswoman.
So I'd like to hear from you.
I just said that what he's talking about is black ops. And I don't doubt that. But I'm concerned that they're trying to tell us. I don't quite totally agree with Bob, but I do agree with him.
That's okay.
I think they're at least trying to tell us that pay attention. You know, we have the power to do this. Be careful. You know, and one of my, I've got scenarios in my mind I've thought about this an awful lot. And one of my scenarios is perhaps, in fact, they've communicated with the leaders of the world and said, back off from this stuff, or else you're going to annihilate yourself. And maybe that's why we cut back some of our missiles. Yeah, in other scenarios, do these, I'll call them beings, do these entities, are we aware of these entities enough that they can go public instead of saying, you can't handle the truth, we can handle the truth? And going public with an innocuous thing like harmless beings that are visiting us just to keep in touch and everything's fine? Or do they consider us a species like we consider apes a species, or dolphins, or perhaps rodents, or perhaps insects? So that sort of thing I don't want to know about. If it's just the fact that they're visiting and they're trying to tell us to watch out for nuclears, they can come forward with that. The government should come forward to let us know, to ease our minds a bit. However, if it's the other scenarios, I just want them to come forward and lie to us and tell us the entities are nice beings and they just want to warn us about nuclear. I can't handle that truth, that we're insects to these people, these beings. So.
Thank you so much. Yes. David?
You've asked us to speculate. I don't know. You probably don't know.
No, I don't.
But these missiles being shut down, Captain Salas described 2 flights that he's aware of. I described to you 1 flight of 10 missiles that I'm aware of. But I'm also aware of other launch officers who've described to me similar situations. So, it's not unique that him and I have been involved here. I mean, this was a situation that was occurring quite often when I served in 1966 and 67. And who knows that it's not still happening out there. There's no active officers of any kind that will come out and admit that right now. But what I'd like to know is, what's your speculation on these missiles being shut down?
Is that rhetorical, or you need an answer?
I'd like an answer to that.
Okay, let me come back to you.
Because
I
I'm
sure
sure it would
will.
be just as good as
That
my
might be
answer.
something to end on, too.
If
Let me
I may just offer one very 30-second opinion. I feel that we really do not have enough data, even now, to know exactly why this is happening. Because despite the number of cases where this does appear to have happened, there are thousands of missiles. And not all of them have been shut down, as far as we can tell. So if they're doing this, they're obviously not doing it uniformly. And I don't really feel that any researcher has enough data to know precisely what those motivations might be. They obviously, they seem to have demonstrated superiority over our technology, that's for sure. So at discrete moments, they seem to be able to do this, but they're not doing it uniformly. And they certainly haven't stopped all of the massive wars that have, run over the planet. So there are certain limits as to what they're willing to do as well.
Thank you. And I yield back my time, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Congresswoman